So thank you for being here this afternoon. I want to thank the press and first of all the community, civic, transportation leaders, department heads for being here as well. My name is Bruce Harrell, of course. I'm the mayor of the city of Seattle, and I have to tell you that I'm extremely excited today about a new leader that we've brought to town, Mr. Gregory Spots. I'll talk a little bit more about his background in a few minutes, but I want to also address the process. It was a great process, and there you'll hear from at least one person involved in that process, but you'll also hear, I think, from the community work that we did. You'll hear from Yordanos Teferi later, and I'll give a better description on her background, but you'll hear from community leaders. I see Monty and others standing in back of me that we wanted a transformational leader. We wanted the vision that I talked about in transportation work to be led by what we consider a national leader in this space. Let me begin by thanking Kristen Simpson, who's in back of me. I don't know if she's on my left or right. I don't want to look. But it's not as though we didn't ask Kristen to lead and some easy times. Of course, we had major capital projects. We continue to look at the basics of Seattle. By that I mean just filling potholes, making sure that we are monitoring our major capital projects, making sure that we have personnel dealing with the COVID that are well equipped to do their jobs. So thank you, Kristen, from the bottom of my heart. You did an outstanding job, and look forward to continuing working with you. Why did I choose Gregory Spots? Well, we talk loudly and consistently about equity, safety, reliable transit, walkable communities. Simply put, we want people to be able to get around with ease and accessibility. While concepts sound easy to describe, not so much easy to build and sustain. We want a strong, resilient infrastructure. So I look forward to working with Gregory because it is very clear. I've had in-depth discussions with Mayor Garcetti in Los Angeles and other transportation leaders in our region about what they were looking for. And quite frankly, Gregory fits the bill. I'm going to look forward to working with him on our recent award of nearly $5 million in federal funding to help revive 3 city bridges. I think you know those bridges, South Spokane Street around the viaduct, and the Jose Rizal Bridge, and 15th Avenue Northwest and the Leary Northwest Bridge. Now, it's not a coincidence that we're holding this event right here. That this light rail station and small businesses and the diversity in the Beacon Hill area, in my mind, models our One Seattle approach, supporting our diverse communities, fighting against displacement. The statute memorializes a personal friend of mine, and the work that his wife continues to do is near and dear to what makes Seattle great. Safety, light rail, environmental sustainability. And quite frankly, when I talk about environmental sustainability, with the hiring of Justin Farrell and our next parks director, and with Gregory, we are building, quite candidly, a stable of climate champions. The work that he's done and will continue to do will continue to put us on the map as a global leader on what a city can do with the right climate policies and implementation. A little bit about Greg. So Greg impressed me with, number one, his ability to what I would consider the academic approach first. The ability to look at data, look at science, look at trends, look at capital costs, so to be able to basically look at data and be transparent with it. He holds a degree from Yale University, cum laude. He holds a master's in public policy from UCLA, and he's not afraid to do the hard academic research, number one, that's necessary. His leadership style is one of listening first, I believe. I guess one could argue when you work under this mayor, you have to learn how to listen first. But that's not totally true, because I try to lead with listening first, and we have a very compatible style to look at the data and then listen to communities. His work in equity is just simply outstanding. He is very comfortable in in all settings. And whether it's the freight mobility groups, whether it's capital construction cost projects dealing with labor, whether it's our bike community and making sure we are mobile, whether it's our disability or handicap commissioned areas where we want to make sure that we are addressing all accessibility needs, regardless as to who the constituent is or are, Greg will be there listening and making sure that his department does the same. He has served this city in Los Angeles. He's helped lead in support of an $11 billion program delivering regional transit mega projects and launched Los Angeles' first proactive maintenance program for their bike network. He worked in the synchronization of traffic signals across Los Angeles to address urban heat islands in neighborhoods. And with, quite frankly, he's worked across many departments, and you see many department heads behind me because Greg will epitomize. Transportation almost affects every part of our ecosystem, whether it's education or social activist or SPU or City Light or Power. The transportation network is sort of course, as we know, the veins in the city, and his ability to work across departments is, quite frankly, very impressive. So having said that, I'm going to introduce Greg and have Greg say a few words. Because many of you know I was born and raised in this city. I'm sort of been an elected leader for a number of years. I'm going to caution you, be easy on him. This is his first touch of Seattle politics. Be gentle. Let's welcome him to Seattle because he's embraced our One Seattle concept. Gregory Spots.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mayor Harrell, and everybody's been super warm and super nice and welcoming so far. Thank you, Mayor Harrell, for nominating me as the next director of Seattle Department of Transportation. I'm thrilled to have the opportunity to help implement your One Seattle vision, along with 1,000 talented SDOT employees. I want to thank Interim Director Kristen Simpson for her leadership of the department since January. We're already forging a great partnership and working together going forward. And my partner Susanna is here in red with me today. Susanna, thanks for your encouragement and support. When I interviewed with Mayor Harrell, I shared my passion for co-creating projects with communities, shaped by each neighborhood's unique history, needs, and aspirations. In Los Angeles, we have 99 neighborhoods, and over the past 14 years, I've had the privilege of collaborating with each and every one of them on projects to improve quality of life. I'm very proud to stand here today with members of the search committee who advised the mayor on filling this position. It truly will take a village to accomplish our goals. Thank you to all of you for being here today. In order to be effective as SDOT director, I'm going to need to build relationships with the people of Seattle, and I'll be launching a listening tour in September to do exactly that. When I met Senior Deputy Mayor Monisha Harrell, she told me, it's not a campaign unless you wear out a pair of shoes. Well, I intend to wear out a pair of shoes, walking, biking, and riding transit with Seattleites, asking residents to show me what's working and what needs improvement. I also want to meet folks who depend on Seattle's network of bridges, truckers who move freight and packages, and the skilled workers who construct and maintain our infrastructure. SDOT currently has 6 core values and goals which I fully support: equity, safety, mobility, sustainability, livability, and excellence. I'd like to say a few words about these values. I'm inspired by SDOT's new transportation equity framework. It's one of the reasons I decided to pursue the job. I'm thrilled to begin bringing this framework to life, working closely with Seattle's Chief Equity Officer, Adia Memory. Regarding safety, one of my first priorities will be a thorough review of our Vision Zero efforts to reduce traffic-related injuries and deaths. Regarding mobility, you'll find me to be a creative change agent to help make Seattle more walkable, bikeable, and transit-friendly. I'm eager to meet my counterparts at King County Metro and collaborate on expanding bus ridership. And I'm thrilled to be joining SDOT as plans for the Sound Transit expansion get underway. In Los Angeles, I served as the mayor's lead on the $1.5 billion Expo Light Rail project, and I'm eager to incorporate community input into station area design. As Streets LA's first Chief Sustainability Officer, I've launched programs to plant trees, improve the streets along parks, unpave Paradise to create public plazas, while greening our agency's operations by introducing plug-in vehicles and solar charging stations into our fleet. I look forward to exploring similar initiatives in Seattle, and I'd like to build on SDOT's placemaking and mobility initiatives to support downtown arts and culture venues and enhance the vitality of neighborhood centers. The last of SDOT's values is excellence, and I'd like to propose a definition. In my view, an excellent public agency must be responsive, collaborative, innovative, transparent, and accountable. I've built my public sector career on these principles, and you can count on me to be guided by them in this new role. I can't wait to get started on September 7th, and I look forward to meeting the mayor's staff, the city council members, the department heads, and the many stakeholders of this innovative, diverse, and progressive city. Thank you.
We'll take questions in a few minutes. Thank you, Gregory. Well done. A few points I neglected to make as clearly as I wanted to make. I really want to emphasize the work that the search committee did. Thank you. Perhaps they were doing it because they had a certain constituency, but perhaps they did it because they are just transportation advocates. I don't care what motivated them to do it. They put in the work, and I want to thank them for that. I also want to mention that Gregory Spots will be joining SDOT crews to tour current bridge infrastructure and see maintenance efforts in action today. And so he's going to hit the ground running, and we look forward to, again, his leadership. A little bit about the search process. I'm going to introduce Yordanos Teferi, who is an e-discovery attorney with over 17 years experience in combined law firm and working with Fortune 100 companies. When Yordanos began serving on the board of the Eritrean Community Center, she was introduced to the great work of the Multicultural Community Coalition, for which she currently serves as the executive director. She also serves on the Equitable Development Initiative, the EDI Advisory Board, and we want to thank her for that, and the Communities of Opportunity Governance Board. Probably more important than that very impressive background, that she's also standing with who will probably be the next mayor at some point. That's Arabella right there. We want to say hi to Arabella, who we've had previous contact with because she's such a smart student. I present to you Yordanos Teferi to say a few words.
Thank you, Mayor Harrell. I greatly appreciate you including me and the other amazing community leaders in this very important search process, many of whom are actually here. From start to finish, our search committee was involved in helping to shape the process. Thank you. We all brought different perspectives, and we all shared the common goal of finding you a superstar who can effectively lead SDOT. During the interview process, we asked tough questions, and Greg impressed us with his experience and his sense of excitement for this role. Greg has a right mix of talent, skills, and hunger to keep learning. Personally, his commitment to the transportation equity framework stood out to me as well as other members of the search committee. Greg understands how our history and policies have shaped our transportation system and how we can actively work to address these challenges. As a transportation equity work group co-chair, as well as a member of the search committee, I look forward to working with Greg and hold him accountable for implementing the transportation equity framework, as well as in ensuring that our communities continue to be heard and represented in SDOT's plans going forward. Greg, we're all excited to work with you and Mayor Harrell as we advance the equitable transportation vision we hold for Seattle. Congratulations, Greg, and welcome to Seattle.
Okay, with that, we'd be more than happy to take a few questions. And Jamie, may I ask you to sort of quarterback this, please?
Yep. Erica? Question for Greg.
Come on up, Greg. Remember my rule, Erica.
No more than 5 questions, right? Hi, Erica Barnett with Publicola. Just curious, Vision Zero is not going great here. Traffic deaths are up, traffic injuries are up. What is the first step you're going to take to address that problem and to start implementing Vision Zero again?
Thank you. Cities around the country are having challenges with, the pandemic caused fewer people to commute, and then actually road speeds increased, and in many cities traffic fatalities have gone up. I've heard loud and clear from stakeholders that there's a need to do a sort of top to bottom review of Vision Zero and really try to dig into the data and figure out which of our interventions are saving lives, have the best chance of saving lives, and on a go-forward basis, use the data to identify how best to make our streets safer, and that's going to be an early action when I arrive in the fall.
Thanks, Greg.
Welcome, Mr. Spots. My question from a community that is absolutely tethered to a bridge, one of which has been down for 2.5 years. Tell me about any bridge projects that you've worked on in recent years.
Thank you. Yes, I was Mayor Antonio Villaraigosa's lead on an $11 billion portfolio of mega projects. One of them was the widening of the 405 freeway, and we rebuilt or seismically upgraded 14 bridges during that project, including the Mulholland Bridge, which is one of our largest bridges. I actually coordinated Carmageddon 2, which was when we closed the 405 to demolish the second half of the bridge. And also built about 9 bridges on the Expo Light Rail project. So I have a lot of experience. I'm not a civil engineer, but I have a lot of experience with infrastructure repair, using data and analytics to do proper asset management and planned maintenance. And I look forward to making sure that we have a very contemporary and modern approach to maintaining the bridges here.
Sure. Then David.
Greg, the mayor mentioned that you had worked on some ideas involving heat islands. Can you explain what that is? Obviously, we're having a little heat wave of our own, and could that happen here in Seattle?
So in Los Angeles, we have neighborhoods today, many of them formerly red line neighborhoods with low tree canopy and high heat exposure. In some of those neighborhoods, we have 40 to 50 days a year now where it's 95 degrees or above, and that's projected to increase to 90 to 100 days within the next 20 to 30 years. So I've been leading an effort to apply solar reflective pavement coatings and plant street trees in these neighborhoods. Last year, we did solar reflective coating on 216 city blocks across 7 underserved neighborhoods and planted 2,000 trees. I wasn't sure if the rainiest city in the United States needed my expertise in urban heat island, but this week is making me wonder if that might come in handy.
David.
Mayor Harrell, curious if you discuss with Greg the Move Seattle levy expiring and kind of next steps, and what are his marching orders as far as looking towards 2024 when that expires?
We had high-level conversations about the levy. What was most important is the process by which we will inform ourselves on what should be in the levy. So we are not, again, I know media likes percentages for certain allocations. What I'm concerned about is when we reach that point, the process by which we'll reach it. So he's aware of the expiration date and the community work that will be put into that. And I must also suggest, relative to that question, we have Rico Crindongo in back of me with OPCD for the reasons. We have Michael from Housing. We have certainly climate leader and former Representative Justin Farrell, all of whom are strong leaders. And the reason they're here is to impress upon the voters that when it comes to the levies, that it's really going to be one Seattle combined approach, and Greg is certainly aware of that.
Ryan. Mayor Harrell, a question for you.
Many Seattleites are, I think, anxious to see your vision for the transportation network, and I'm wondering if you can kind of tell us what that is.
Yeah. So for this particular event, I don't want to do a long, elaborate vision. I think we've put actually a lot of visionary statements in writing, and quite frankly, I've looked at visionary statements throughout this country. I've become pretty good friends with almost every major city mayor recently, and they're all saying the same thing. Quite frankly, moving with ease and accessibility, equity, strong transit. The words that I like using are leading with transit, quite candidly, and leading with equity, looking at where we're having too many fatalities, too many accidents. I also look at how we manage major capital costs with a city that's surrounded by bridges. So I don't want to start spewing out a particular vision per se. I think we've written a lot about that. What was most important for me, quite frankly, for the last 6 months is making sure we are sticking to the basics, maintaining that which we have, and still meeting to the best we could, our safety goals. But finding the right leader to lead this very important organization, this very important department, was the highest priority. So that'll be my answer.
Okay, time for a couple more questions. Erica, and I know Matt had one too.
I don't know if you've noticed as you've been driving around town or traveling around town, but there's a lot of eco blocks, which are these big concrete blocks that are placed in the right of way to prevent people from parking there. Usually, people living in their vehicles or RVs. Are you aware of this problem? And it's something that is in SDOT's jurisdiction. It's not legal, but they proliferate everywhere. And do you have a plan for addressing it?
I haven't made any plans yet because I'm not on the payroll yet, but I am aware of it, and I've been reading the coverage of it, and we do have similar issues in Los Angeles. We've had different boulders placed and other planters and other things. So I'll bring some of those experiences to complex discussions about how to handle that.
I'm sorry, just to follow up, what happened in LA? Was anything ever done, or was there a policy?
There are occasions where we've removed some of those obstacles from the public right-of-way on a case-by-case basis.
Mayor Harrell, question for Mayor. Your administration is being criticized for removing encampments and doing RV remediation in this heat wave. Are you going to continue with that plan as it is during this heat wave?
Well, our administration is being praised for the work to get people out of this heat wave and into cooling centers and to getting them treatment and the housing. That's what we're doing. And we're doing it in a very compassionate, humane approach. And so we schedule these types of removals. We give notice, and most important, we lead with compassion. And you've heard my story before, but I'll repeat it. I was born in this city. Everywhere I see someone that is not housed, I want to house them. And for me, doing nothing is the wrong thing to do. It's too hot for people to live in some of these conditions, and so we are aggressively finding housing and housing alternatives, getting people in cooling centers. I take ownership of what we're doing, and I'm very proud of the work we're doing, and quite frankly, a day doesn't go by where people are saying, thank you for what we're doing. So I'm sure it comes with a level of criticism, but I think it is for those who are just not looking at the data that we populate transparently. Yeah, no problem.
The Regional Homelessness Authority has openly said they're opposing these removals, and that's the main agency that's providing housing and shelter for people who are leaving these camps.
So that's not the quote that at least I read. I think what they made a statement that I agree on. They said they oppose displacements. We're not trying to displace anyone from this city. What we're trying to do is protect them and house them and cool them and feed them and make sure their needs are met. This is an organization that I would remind the voters that, yes, the city of Seattle is the major funder, and they should not confuse our public safety strategies as to make sure that our parks are safe, our sidewalks are safe, with our compassionate housing strategy. And so I'm not trying to sweep or displace anyone. We're trying to treat and house people, and we'll continue to do that with the resources that we have.
Cool. Last question.
Gregory, you in the past have talked some about 15-minute cities and your kind of interest in those. I'm curious to hear how you see your job as transportation director intersecting with housing and urban planning and kind of long-term visions for what the city should actually look like, and zoning and those kind of larger intersections.
Sure. I mean, I'm a student of cities and how they function, and I'm a 10,000 step a day pedestrian, and I'm a cyclist. I own 2 bikes, and I love to explore cities, and I love plazas like this where streets become a place for people to gather. So I'm very interested in how we can not just use our streets to get to other places, but also make them places in themselves. And I have seen examples in Seattle where SDOT has done just that in a way that actually leads many other jurisdictions. So I think placemaking is very important, and I really look forward to collaborating with my other departmental colleagues and individual communities about the kind of placemaking that they'd like to have in their unique neighborhoods.
Thank you very much.
Okay, we're going to take a quick photo. On 3, welcome Greg. 1, 2, 3, welcome Greg. All right, part of the One Seattle family.